Hey, good evening, everybody. We're here live at the Fountains of Farah on this week's segment of the Metal Shop Vlogs. My name is Gabriel, and I'm the spoken word vocalist for a new project out here called My Hand to Hold. She's in for another long night, but this night is no different than the rest. How did she get herself in this place in life where she saw no way out? It's like she went into another room, locked the door, and threw away the key. He came to her as everything she had ever wanted, but slowly transformed into everything that she was afraid of. She showed him her weaknesses, but instead of helping her through them, he used them against her. He would tell her that he loved her, but words spoken without meaning are like an unloaded gun. In the same way that you can pull the trigger and have no shots fired, words can come out of your mouth and be completely empty. When she spoke to people, she desperately tried to justify his actions, like she was asking for forgiveness for sins that she herself had not committed. She looked into the mirror and questioned the person she saw on the other side. She never grew up wanting this, and like every little girl, she wanted that fairy tale life where she would get to live happily ever after. But what do you do when it's Prince Charming that you need rescuing from? But in her heart, she didn't want an escape, rather she wanted change, as she tried to salvage some good out of the wreckage that was her abuser. But she knew that by doing so, it was like digging through dirt where there was no treasure buried underneath. She wanted him to pull her up, not let her down, to hold her close, not push her around. The scars on her body read like a road map that showed her the directions in life that she never wanted to take, on a journey she never should have been on to begin with. She remembers growing up being scared of the monsters she thought hid under her bed and inside her closet. But now the only monster she's afraid of is the one that sleeps in her bed beside her at night. And the longer she deals with this problem, the more she started to convince herself that she is the problem. She went from asking, why is this happening, to saying, I suppose that this is what I deserve. And all anyone can ask her is, why don't you just leave? Leave! Why can't you just leave? Have you ever taken medicine, yet the sickness still remained? It's more like you're behind bars rather than an open door that you can just walk out of. She's been beaten into believing that she's like a used car that's been in several accidents and that no one else could ever want her. Leave? He says he'll kill her if she tries. So what's a couple of bruises and a black eye compared to losing her life? Will her children go through the same thing? Will the circle of life become the cycle of abuse? She hears the door open. Her heart sinks. Her mind races. Her body trembles. Her breathing gets heavier. She saw him slowly approach, and she put her arms up in a defense that she knew was absolutely useless. Let's get this over with, was her final thought before she saw stars fly across her eyes. She woke up soon after, and the surroundings were different, and the bed she was in was not hers. She heard the beeps of machines and the shuffling of feet. A man came to her and said that her condition was critical, and there was little they could do. She tried to reply, but she had not the strength to have the words escape her lips. The man said, you have a visitor. And a gentle fellow came in and kneeled beside her bed, holding a book called the Bible. That thing that was like a letter from a friend that she had never even bothered to open. The man's words said she would be okay, but his eyes said otherwise, yet they glistened with a small amount of hope. He asked her about God, and she thought of all the desperate prayers and the religion she had given up on a long time ago, like she had given up on everything. So she decided to close her eyes and ask for one last chance. She prayed a prayer that took nearly all her strength to do. The man then laid a hand on her shoulder, and it was the first time in a long time that a hand had been laid on her without the intent to hurt her. He whispered to her, when all else fails, his love won't. She smiled, and oh, how lovely it felt to do that again. And she closed her eyes, and she went home that night. As far as the genre of spoken word, I've been writing for a very, very long time now. I wrote my first prose at the age of, believe it or not, 3. And I always remember growing up, people would tell my parents, oh yeah, he's got a unique gift. And I'll take their word for it. I'm not one to brag about myself or anything like that. But what really got me into the spoken word genre was at a very young age, I got a copy of The Bamboo Parachute. It was a spoken word album by Deftones' now deceased bassist Chi Chang. And it was a very surreal, eccentric collection of spoken word poetry. And, you know, it was odd, but it really got me into it. It was interesting, the passion that he would implement into all of the tracks that were on there. And another thing that got me into spoken word was every band I've been in, I've usually been the primary lyricist. I've always said, you know, the real message in a song is its lyrics. I never want to listen to a song if it's got really bad lyrics, you know. Like, it's one thing for the instrumentals to be good, but, you know, it's the lyrics that make a song for me. For example, you know, Amazing Grace. There's been a lot of different versions of Amazing Grace out there. A lot of instrumentations, a lot of key change, but the lyrical content has always stayed the same in it. So that's what's really gotten me into spoken word. And, you know, I really hope with this that I can reach out to people, because the motto for this is I want to be a voice for people who feel like they have none. Oh, it's just a peak, but every plant starts out as a seed, and no disease attacks our bodies without a virus to take it there. And this disease, no one seems to want to rid themselves of. A disease where the cure for it is not as pleasing as the cure, a satisfying kind of sickness. How is the most profitable industry the one that we are the quietest about? If money talks, then this industry should be spoken about with a thunderous roar. But instead it's mentioned in shameful whispers, sometimes not at all. I mean, as far as the original music I've got about 5 or 6 tracks out there right now. I mean, I've got a lot of writings, but they're just skeletons right now. They're not really complete songs. As far as these songs, I'm working on an album right now, and it's called The Mirror Experience. And the main reason that I'm calling it The Mirror Experience is because when someone looks in a mirror, they see a reflection of themselves. And when people listen to this upcoming album I've got, I want them to be able to maybe see themselves in the lyrics that are being spoken to them. Again, the mirror experience. It's not necessarily a visual reflection, but rather an audible reflection, a psychological, mental. You know, that album's not out yet. It's being worked on. I do have a single out right now. It's called Intervention, and you can download it off my Bandcamp for just $1. It's soon to come out on iTunes and Spotify. And Intervention provides a very powerful message about domestic abuse victims. Because, you know, everybody's like, oh, what people do behind closed doors is nobody's business. But you know what? Sometimes what happens behind closed doors is something that we need to be a little bit louder about. So, you know, I grew up with this kind of stuff, you know. I grew up with a really abusive father who would do a lot of terrible things to my mother. And, you know, I just think that someone needs to speak up about this, you know. Like I said earlier, a voice for people who feel like they have none. So, you know, be sure and check out the track Intervention about domestic violence victims, like I said. And it's about to come out on iTunes and Spotify. I'm just working out things with the aggregators right now. I'm going after a lot of topics, you know, that people struggle with, or maybe they don't feel comfortable talking about. I'm going over things like suicide, depression, anxiety, drug addiction, pornography addiction, doubts about God. This is a faith-driven project, you know, Christian-based, you could say. But I'm not catering specifically to a Christian demographic, because I think everybody needs to hear these messages, you know. I don't want to segregate my audience or things of that nature. And, you know, with most bands, everybody wants to make themselves look good, you know, and that's okay. You know, you want to present yourself as the best you can be. But with this, I'm going to sacrifice my dignity. I'm going to sacrifice my public image. People are going to know my weaknesses and the worst sides of me. Well, that's okay, because maybe through that, they can become a little bit stronger themselves. And with a revenue that exceeds broadcasted sports, could it be that the most popular American pastime doesn't happen on a television in a living room, but rather on a laptop behind a closed door? What started as a small temptation has become a carnal obligation, as you feed a beast whose appetite is never truly satisfied. And I say to you, that's someone's daughter you're watching. And you say, well, that's fine. It's not my daughter. And I suppose that makes sense, because we are never worried about the fire until we're the ones getting burned by it. I guess this is the obligatory part where I tell you about the social media aspects of this band. I mean, because social media is kind of a necessary evil. You got to keep up with the times, you know. So, yeah, you can check me out on Facebook. Just search My Hand to Hold. You can also follow me on Instagram, My Hand to Hold. It's my personal account. but it's also my band account too, so you can just follow me on there. Haven't gotten to Twitter yet, but I'm finding out that Twitter is a really essential and useful tool for bands, promoters, bookers, people, and all that. So eventually plan on getting a Twitter soon. Don't exactly have that yet. And I've got a SoundCloud too. You can just check my personal name, Gabriel Lynn Moore. You can just go there. I don't know how to change the name on there. I'm slowly starting to figure that out. You can contact me for shows or music or anything like that. I've got a couple shows coming up. I've got one on March 17th at the Pizza Joint. They're having their 5-year anniversary. It's pretty cool. I'm going to get to play with talented musicians like Alan Martinez, Liz Tina, Randy Vega. By the way, Randy Vega has this great band out now called Vibes Arise. If you love reggae rock, I highly recommend you go to Facebook and you give them a like. But, I mean, more importantly, this isn't just a band, this is an outreach project. So what I'm trying to get at when I say that is, if you feel like you've got no one else to talk to, or if you feel like the suicide line's got too long of a hold time, I know, I've tried to call them before, you can always just message my hand to hold if you need someone to talk to, or you can go to my personal Facebook page, Gabriel Lynn Moore, and this video is proof that I'm holding myself accountable for this. And you're not just going to message somebody and get, oh yeah, that sucks, man, or I'm sorry that you're going through that. Because I didn't like that when I was going through tough times myself. So I'm holding myself accountable for this, that if you need someone to talk to, I don't care what time of the hour it is, I'm putting my phone on the loudest volume you can. Message the band page or message me. I'll be here for you as much as I can be. You see, pornography operates on one simple equation. It's the ease of lust minus the effort of love, with the addition of an addiction that equals a divided relationship. Well, I'm not cheating, you say, yet you clear your browsing history like you're deleting messages from another mistress that you don't want her to find out about. And thoughts turn into actions, so let's see how long your willpower will last when you get the opportunity to turn your fantasy into reality. Because why search for love? We use search on Google. The former takes two, but the latter is just for you. I said it, love is a benefit, but porn is a detriment. You say to me, yes, they can coexist, but love and lust are polar opposites. Love is patient, yet with your lust you seek immediate gratification. Love does not envy, yet you crave that which you do not have, and wish for just that. Love does not boast, but what is the first thing we do right after we hook up on a weekend night? Love does not dishonor, but those women are not at all respected. They say that 2 is a company, but 3 is a party. If 3 is a party, then lust is the guest that showed up uninvited. This is a band. Yes, it is my solo project, but it's a band as much as anything else. So if you're a musician who's wanting to get involved in something a little bit different, maybe something you haven't necessarily done before, I'm down to collaborate with you. Just send my hand to hold a message, send me a message on Facebook, Gabriel Lynn Moore. I love keyboardists, I love guitar players, I love bass players. It's going to be hard for me to do this and play bass at the same time. So yeah, definitely bass players. Drummers too. Even if you're a harmony singer, you know, I'd love to collaborate with you, because, you know, if I play live shows, it's going to be fun to have a band behind me. So definitely, if you want to collaborate with this, just hit me up. And you know, even if you want to throw down some tracks on the album, we'll see if I can make that happen too. The album's still being recorded. So yeah, just hit me up if you need that. That first click is like that first hit, and you'll spend all your time trying to recreate that first time. You tell me it's your imagination, not an addiction. I say it's one and the same, because imagination and addiction give you an escape from reality, and the reality is that porn destroys lives, no matter which side of the screen that you are on. Saying that you want sex without the strings attached and the formalities is like saying you want to eat junk food without the calories. We should object to this objectification of women who were created in God's own image. But I didn't see them like that. Yeah, I saw them in an image of my own perverted desires and fantasies. And if you're wondering who I've been referring to and arguing against, that person is me. Because I'm the biggest hypocrite, my own worst enemy. I can clear my browsing history, but if I won't clear my conscience of all the wrongdoing I've done. I remember asking, hey girl, do you spit or swallow? But now I'm spitting out the truth, and I'm swallowing my pride by admitting that I had a problem with this disease known as pornography. And to all who I've lusted after, I want to say that I'm sorry. You shouldn't have been the centerfold in a magazine. Instead, you should be the center of someone's whole world. Someone who deserves you way more than I do. I would love to give a huge shout out to the Metal Shop Vlogs for graciously allowing me to come on here. This is a lot better than, my mom doing an iPhone video of me. That's cool, but, it legitimizes things. It really does. I don't know if that's a word. I might have screwed up on that, but it's okay. So if you're a musician, if you're a band, a booker, promoter, a chef, if you own a nightclub, if you do anything that's like relevant or exciting to the El Paso community, Las Cruces, even if you're out of town. There was this really cool out of town band from Dallas that did a vlog on here a while ago. I thought it was really cool to see someone travel that far for a vlog. So definitely, if you can do that, they'd love to have you. It's an exciting new way to get your music or whatever you do out there. I'd love to give a shout out to all the bookers and promoters who have booked me or are going to book me, especially April from Miss Machine Events. The show I'm going to have with her new band case on April 2nd. Definitely love to give her a shout out. Most importantly, I'd love to give a shout out to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Cheesy as that sounds to some of you, I understand that, but if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here or have the things that I do. And I'd also like to thank all my listeners and everybody who bought my single. My single's made over $25 so far. That's a lot. So thank you to everyone who's done that. Thank you for everyone who's listening. And most of all, thank you for just being you, because I want you to know something. You're worth it, not worthless. This next song that I want to perform for you guys is called No Return Address, and you're probably explaining, well, where'd you get the idea from a title like that? Well, see, back in the old days when you would write letters, you would include a return address on there because you wanted the recipient of the letter to send you something back. Well, this song's called No Return Address because it's based off a suicide note, and a suicide note is something you leave without giving anybody the chance to reply because you'll be gone by the time that they read it. And this song is based off of my own suicide attempt. On December 24th, 2014, I attempted suicide, and honestly, it was probably the best failure that I've ever had in my life. And in this song are contains actual lines from my suicide note. And yeah, the original note's long gone and destroyed, but the lines will forever be ingrained within inside my mind. So I hope someone out there gets something out of this, because it's one thing to sympathize with somebody, but to say I've actually been in your shoes, that's something completely different. This one's called No Return Address. The sky is the limit, but I can't see that far when my eyes are stuck to the ceiling in my bedroom as I lie wide awake at night and I question a life that feels more like a curse than a blessing. And yes, I've been praying for help, but it's not that my prayers go unanswered, it's just the answer always seems to be no. I've never been so close to death without actually dying, and I'm barely keeping my head above water, and the water that I'm drowning in is all the tears that I've cried from the night before. My mother tells me, quit sulking around, don't you have chores to do? I say, yes I do. Did I tell you that breathing has become one of them? My pastor sits down beside me and he says, what you want to do will send you straight to hell. And I look that man in the eyes and say, I won't go to hell because I'm already living in it. My therapist asked me, why do you feel this way? Life is a gift. Is life a gift, or is it the ugly truth carefully wrapped in broken promises and false hopes and presented to people as such? A gift is something that you give to somebody without expecting anything in return, yet life has demanded so much of me and given me back nothing for my efforts. So please tell me, what kind of a gift is that? Good things are coming, I promise. Don't you believe in miracles? It's not that I don't believe in miracles, it's just sometimes I don't believe in the God that's supposed to make them happen. Get over it! That's what people tell me. It's mind over matter. But in my own mind, I never even mattered to begin with. If scars tell a story, then I've got a lot of pages in my book, and I'm just a few chapters away from the ending that I so desperately want. The ending of my life. It's like I have a different kind of Midas touch. Instead of gold, everything I touch just seems to fall apart. Dear God, can I come back home just a little bit earlier? I feel unwanted and unloved, and honestly, I think I'm overstaying my visit. It's hard to keep dancing when the music's no longer playing. Every morning I wake up, I'm angry and I'm confused because I'm not waking up from a nightmare. I'm waking up into a nightmare that I can't seem to escape from. I'm walking down a dark hallway and I'm wondering when and if the light will ever come back on. They say God gives his toughest battles to his strongest warriors, but I think God's got me mistaken for somebody else. Then I remember that God doesn't make mistakes, but I do. And my mistake was believing that I could be stronger than the burdens that I carry. You see, in this absence of love, I found a love for absence, and I thought I could win in this game of hide and seek with my darkest secrets. But they always know where to find me. And to everyone who wonders why I did this, as they look at a slab of stone and a bouquet of flowers that are a testament to my life, I want to tell you that this is not your fault. This wasn't a failure to love or a failure to listen. The only failure was me, because I couldn't handle the life that I had been given.